We're going to call the board meeting for the LACSD Board of Directors to order. Please follow me to the pledge. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Where's the agenda posted?
The agenda was posted on August 27th.
Roll call.
Vice President Boyston is absent. Director Keith,
Here.
Director Morris,
Here.
Director Reynolds,
Here.
President Wurm.
Here. Any additions or deletions to the agenda from the board? All right, now we have a opportunity for the public to comment. Speak to the directors on matters within the jurisdiction of the district that are not on the agenda. So if something is on the agenda and you want to comment on that, we request you wait until that matter is called. We do have a time limit of 5 minutes per individual. Has anybody submitted a written comment?
We have Mr. Schultz.
Okay, Mr. Schultz, please
Good
step
afternoon.
forward. Good afternoon.
The community of Lake Arrowhead and its full-time residents would like to thank and share our appreciation towards our water company, LACSD. Where else can you find such a personalized relationship between a full-time resident or part-time resident and its water company? LACSD continues to inform us daily about our drinking water and the steps they are taking and have taken to ensure us that our drinking water is safe. While we battle PFAS, we need to understand that the concentrations fluctuate month by month, and each bay is different from each other. For example, North Bay is actually tracking downward. This information is needed to combat our other enemy besides PFAS. That other enemy is a public website known as Arrowhead Woods Informed. We call it Arrowhead Woods Misinformed. This website is no friend to the community of Lake Arrowhead. The author, Garen Vartanian, is not even a full-time resident and is disingenuous in his writing. For example, on July 25th, he stated Catherine Sari, our GM, gave an update for a new corporate parking yard being built by McCabe Park. It is actually a facility for 2 departments, for emergencies and on-site fuel, parts, materials, and parking as well. It's disingenuous to call it a parking lot. This is a manipulation writing by leaving out this information. LACSD must also put up with unethical attacks from this worldwide public website, which Garen Vartanian bragged about. This website is causing confusion and plummeting our property value. What tourists from around the world would want to come to visit Lake Arrowhead after reading Garen Vartanian's website? No one. This website represents mostly outside investors who also are getting hurt by this website, on top of the community of Lake Arrowhead. Garen Vartanian gives off the perception that our drinking water is deadly and that the water company is doing nothing. He also stated that the LACSD board, the general manager, the staff, employees should be removed. LACSD has a board, a GM, a staff, and employees who are civic-minded, well-intended, long-term citizens who have stepped up to the plate to combat PFAS while being discredited by Garen Vartanian's Arrowhead Woods Misinformed website. Local citizens in the mountain community state that this public website has done more damage to our community than the winter of the Snowmageddon. LACSD needs to continue to concentrate on our drinking water and continue to proudly serve our community. It is our civic duty to protect our community, our neighborhoods, and our property values from harmful websites. We all know that our lives end the day we begin to stay silent on things that matter. Thank you for hearing our frustrations and opinions.
Thank you. Any but other members of the public would like to comment?
We have one online, Mr. Vartanian.
Okay, go ahead. Garen?
Yeah, can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Just have a question for each one of the board members. If you guys can answer this individually. Have you guys considered hiring Michael Schultz as completing your PR campaign? Because he's doing a wonderful job of giving accurate information to the community. So I think Michael would be an asset to LACSD, and I would highly encourage the board to consider hiring Mr. Schultz to be another manager for LACSD, but in the PR department. That's just my suggestion. So I hope you guys take that under consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Mr. Redendow.
Okay, Scott?
Hi, good evening, everyone. I hope you're all doing well.
Thank you.
Good. I would like to address comments made at your last board meeting by a full-time ratepayer who appeared to be confused by a few simple facts. He spoke again earlier today and appears to now be the local spokesperson for LACSD. Part-time resident ratepayers make up the large majority of LACSD ratepayers. According to one local newspaper, as much as 83% of local residents are part-time. LACSD billing structure has a minimum charge for water, whether you use the water or not. Since so many homes in the service district area are part-time residents, it's fair to say that a large number of the homes fall below the minimum usage threshold. Because of that, part-time resident ratepayers are effectively subsidizing the full-time resident ratepayers. Without that subsidy, our bill would likely be significantly higher than they are now. I would strongly suggest that the man from last month's meeting and who spoke earlier today consider thanking all the part-time residents who are ratepayers for helping to keep his water rates as low as they are. Thank you very much. And I'm still concerned as to who the we is or are that he keeps mentioning. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Scott. Any other comments?
No.
Okay, very good. Next is on the agenda is on the consent calendar. These are routine, non-controversial, expected to be non-controversial, be acted on at one time without discussion unless an item is withdrawn by a board member for questions or discussion. Anybody, board member, want to withdraw any item? No. Okay. Is there any member of the public who wants to speak on the consent calendar items? Nobody? Okay. All right, we'll entertain a motion for approval of the consent calendar items.
I'll move to approve the consent calendar. And I'll second.
Okay, do we need the roll call vote?
No roll call.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, the consent calendar is approved. Thank you. Next, we have departmental reports. John.
Thank you, President Wurm. My report starts on page 27 of your packet, and it is the preliminary year-end results along with the investment report for the fiscal year 23-24. I put together a small PowerPoint presentation. There it is.
Sorry about
All
that.
right, no problem. As you know, each year we have an audit, independent third-party audit comes in and audits the district that has started. And over the next few months, we will be going back and forth with them with eventually our reporting usually takes place in October or the November meeting. Tonight's numbers that I'm presenting are really just the preliminary ones. These have not been audited. It's really just kind of a supplement to my usual quarterly reports that I present. And it's really just kind of an broad overview of what we've seen over the past year. So some of like just the benefits and the goals that we're always striving for is and why it's so important that we maintain our strong financial position are several things. Number one, obviously, it's just the cost of service, the day-to-day operations of the district, making sure that we're able to deliver water, wastewater services, day in and day out. Number two is what's kind of known as the infrastructure bubble that a lot of districts are going through. What we want to do is make sure that we're kind of always ahead of the curve and making sure that our infrastructure is in good shape and that we have the resources to take care of these things on hopefully a more proactive basis rather than reactive. Next benefit of having a good, strong position is the cost of debt or the interest expense that we would incur if we have to go to market to raise funds. The board has prioritized paying as we go, and that's worked out well for us, but it's always nice to know that if we're in a strong financial position, if we do have to go to market, we're able to get the best costs possible. Next would be emergencies and unforeseen events, things like the PFAS situation that we have, obviously can take a strain if we're not able to find funding. So once again, making sure that we have that we're coming from a strong position allows us to really be able to move as quickly as possible to take care of any unforeseen events. And then lastly, just pension sustainability, being able to be in a strong position so that we are not getting caught behind as many California agencies are with their pension obligations. So just kind of quickly moving to just some of the broad numbers. When we look at for the year, the operating revenue, no real big surprises as I've been mentioning all year. Consumption is down. You can see from the, if I just look at the green line at the bottom, just the totals, we are 4% above where we were last year. However, we are 7% under budget as far as revenue for the year, which puts us about 1.2 million under budget of what was expected. Once again, consumption is just something that we've seen it level out, but it's still down from where we had originally projected. Next slide. And then, as I've also been saying, what has more than made up for that lack of revenue on the service side is the non-operating revenue. Property taxes continue to be very strong, as well as the investment income. Property taxes, just the robust real estate environment has continued to kind of outperform what the essentially just what was budgeted. And as well as interest rates being a bit sustained higher for quite a bit longer. We once again are just, that's really been the big tailwind that the district's had, is just being able to, 3 years ago, I was investing in CDs that were paying 0.5%. Now I'm investing in CDs that are paying us 5%. So, I mean, just, huge difference from where we were during the COVID lockdown time to now. So you can see from the second variance column, that's 2.4 over budget, which more than takes care of the 1.2 million under budget we were on the service side. So looking at these two things together, coming in strong. So next slide. If we look over onto the operating expenses side, operating expenses are day-to-day. Our day-to-day expenses, it's more of what we have some control over, or we do our best to maintain. We can see that we were about 9% higher than we were last year. However, it did come in 1% under budget for the year. And then finally, how we're ending for the year as far as cash balance. Our ending cash balance of a little over 52 million. brought in a net increase of about 4.1 million. And that's what will be used for continued operations, funding our, other infrastructure plans, our capital investment plans, things along those lines. And with that, if you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them.
So as far as the audit process goes, can you inform us on that?
Yeah, as far as just the process, it's
Yes, what can we expect in the next couple of 3 months?
so it's there's not a whole lot of reporting that I do to the board midway. What we see is in the reporting in October or November, depending on when the auditors are wrapped up, they present a report, and the auditing firm usually meets and will meet again, to kind of present the results to the board.
And interest income, I don't think we can expect that bonus, so to speak, to cover our consumption decreases long term.
Right, so the current year that we're in right now, we've adjusted the budget, so that was the budget cycle that the board has been presented and approved last month or the month before. So we've taken the reduced consumption into consideration. Yeah, and interest rates, yes, they should come down, but
Maybe not that much though. Huh?
yeah, I mean, and not overnight.
No, okay. Right. Anything else? All right. Okay. Thank you very much, John.
We have questions up here.
Oh, we do. I'm sorry.
So we have Mr. Height, his hand is up. Just for clarification, his hand went up when we did the last motion for consent calendar. So I'm gonna unmute him.
Okay.
Mr. Height? Can you hear us?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right. This is really a question addressed to the chairman there, Mr. Wurm. Mr. Wurm, the last time Mr. Schultz spoke, and he is at least one of, if not the sole board member of AWAC, and AWAC is an organization that you represent, and as such, you represent him. So he is a client of yours. At the last time he spoke, he read a statement in which he divulged all sorts of information that would be known only to AWAC. For instance, how many times I have asked for private public information and for the community services to give it to me. How he would know that, I don't know. Catherine Sari knows it. And the lady I request the information from knows it. And presumably, as head of the board, you may know it. The last time he spoke, you did not stop him from maligning me specifically. Now, when I speak, I try to mention anything at all of that fashion. You would have stopped me immediately, as you should. But you allowed him to go on and on and on, even beyond his time limit. As such, as the chairman of that board, you placed LACSD in legal peril from me. This time he came on again and read a statement without you stopping him or even questioning him, maligning those people that run this evil website called Lake Arrowhead Informed. That website speaks for two people, me and Garen Vartanian. It does not attempt to speak for anyone else. It is only our opinions. So I am telling you right now, if you let that character come on again and use LACSD as a conduit to malign me, and I heard myself while I was in Southampton, England at the time, to malign me internationally online, I will hold LACSD responsible for anything he says that is illegal. I would suggest that you check in advance, and I'm assuming you didn't write it, that you check in advance whatever propaganda he is going to read. I appreciate the fact that he doesn't like me or Arrowhead Woods informed, but I am shocked that you are allowing him to debase LACSD by reading that stuff. I have a great respect for LACSD. I spent a lot of time and energy in an effort to try to do what I think is right. But what I see now, I see LACSD being dragged down into the dirt, and that shouldn't happen. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Mr. Vartanian.
Okay. Garrett?
Yeah, hi, can you hear me?
Sure.
Just had a quick financial question. It keeps getting reported month after month after month. It's happened a few times. You're reporting reduced service revenue, which shows that the money coming in is not the same as it was before. That there's a decline in service, decline in water usage. In your report, you guys were going back and forth and postulating that maybe it's the STRs and people don't come up here anymore, and it's a decline in STR, but you didn't really, try to figure out why there's a decline in water usage. So the two questions that I have is, do you guys have any idea what the reason, why the decline in water usage, why that's occurring? And then secondly, I've noticed our overall annual usage between the golf course and the wells and the actual lake from, the water from the lake. There is absolutely no reason for us to be going into this recycled water business because the demand is just not there. So is the board cognizant of that fact that there is a decline in usage? And what is the rationale? This is the question that I have for the board. What is the rationale for the implementation and the expansion of recycled water usage in Lake Arrowhead? Are we planning to sell it to other areas to make up for the loss in revenue? Or is this just something that was decided 5 years, 10 years ago, thinking that our usage is going to skyrocket, and it never did? So please, somebody there, one of you board members, the general manager, please explain to me the rationale. Why are we going on this journey of recycled water implementation where Lake Arrowhead is going to become a recycled water depot for San Bernardino? That's what it looks like to me. So please, if you can respond to that, I would appreciate it. Thank you, sirs and ma'am.
All right, thank you. In terms of decreased usage, I don't know. It seems to me, just from being in the area, there are less people than there were 1 or 2 years ago, but
it does seem like maybe there's a little less population, but honestly, we've been attributing it to the heavy winters we had.
okay.
So we've had less irrigation. We are seeing usage go up a little bit compared to last year, but John is speaking on a fiscal year and Matt will speak on the calendar year.
Any comments, Matt, or?
Well, as mentioned on the report I was going to give next, I'll just say on our end, on the production end, water is very similar at this point, water delivered. We're talking through 7 months of this year versus 7 months of last year. I'm seeing a 7 acre-foot difference less this year than last year. So I call that very similar. And that's what I was going to report out. So that's on the production end. And like Catherine mentioned, John's speaking on fiscal year, and these are build units he's reporting out. So.
Well, the other comment, Garen asked a good question, I think, about recycled water is, and I can't give you the exact year, but at one point, the lake level was way down. I mean, it was down severely to the point where instead of we have a functionally full lake for the past 2 years, and the water level is way down. The voters of this district passed a supplemental water fee and a program requiring the district, I wasn't a member of the board at that time, but requiring the district to do things to keep the lake level up, one of which was to use recycled water for the golf course. Other conservation means, well, so that's why we have, or that was, I think, the first time we had a big push for recycled water. So hopefully that answers the question, but we appreciate the interest. Anybody else?
We had a question, it just went away. Oh, there it goes again.
Okay.
iPhone 2. Go
Hi.
ahead.
This is Scott Rundle. I think it's okay, Mr. Hike, to have opinions. So if we're all gonna get vetted on what we're gonna say at any other meeting, that's kind of a new program, so that's kind of interesting. I do have a question regarding usage at the golf course. If we had such a wet year, why is water consumption up at the golf course this year versus last year, let's say? So that's one question. And let's see, what was the other question? I think that's it.
Address that on your next item.
You want me to address it on the next item?
Yeah.
Okay.
In the next item. you can
It's
address it.
Scott, Matt's gonna talk about that on his operations report, okay?
I had already muted him.
All right, well, but I guess it's okay.
Sorry, you thought he was.
Is there anybody else?
There's nobody.
Okay, all right. Thank you, John.
Thank you.
All right, and next we have Matt with our operations report.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. Like I just mentioned, production is water delivered very similar this year versus last year, about 7 acre-foot difference. Lake draw, we're slightly down this year versus last year, about 50 acre-feet less. Wells to the system, we're down there. We're down about 30 acre-feet less, so lake draw is down. We are purchasing more CLAWA this year as more than we did last year as well. So CLAWA purchase is up about 100 acre-feet more this year versus last year, and this has to do with us Cedar Glen treatment plants offline right now, and then we're also blending the CLAWA at the Brandon Water Treatment Plant. So that's bringing our PFAS numbers down, which I'll talk about in my next report at the PFAS update. But Mr. Rundle, to answer your question, at this point, we have delivered 110 acre-feet of recycled water to the golf course versus about 90 acre-feet last year. Last year was the year that we had the very wet winter, and lake was overflowing into August. And I mean, this winter was also, I guess, wetter than previous, but not like last year. So this year, we're kind of on track to deliver a similar amount of recycled water as we have in years past. So last year was more of an anomaly where we delivered less. So on our end, we are delivering similar amount of water that we typically would in a typical year at this point through this year.
All right, any questions from the board?
There's none.
No, okay. Thank you, Matt, and now PFAS.
Right, thanks again, Mr. President, members of the board. So the PFAS update, that was amended since I submitted it a week ago. Because we included sample results that were not available at the time of submitting this to you guys. So a link has been added to the website yesterday, and Ms. Meads, she has provided it for those attending online right now. So thank you. So on page 3 of this updated packet, you'll see that there's a list of samples that have been taken since, or results that are either available or still pending since the last board meeting on July 23rd. Quarterly samples that were taken from wells 1, 2, 6, and 8. Those were taken on August 7th. Those were added to the spreadsheet, and those results are also available, and those will be mentioned as I get to that point in this report. So you'll notice that we took 2 samples of Cedar Glen water treatment plant raw, and that would be representative of Emerald Bay on August 22nd. So this is in response to the higher than previous results that we recently received for samples taken in May. So those were the samples for 19 parts per trillion that we took for a third party that was helping us with additional sampling. So The district would like to confirm that high result and or potentially find any contributing factors. That sample collected in May was taken from a different sample tap than from where previous samples were taken from. And there was also a different analytical method used for that sample, which is different than the ones that we take routinely that are required by the Division of Drinking Water for reporting purposes. So not sure if that had anything to do with it, but we basically took two samples, one from the sample tap that we have used previously routinely, and then the one that was used last time in May. And so we'll see if the sample tap had anything or the method had anything to do with the difference in the 19 that we saw, because that is the highest number that we have seen to this point. So we're still waiting for the results for the EPA finished treated water samples that were originally taken in March, and then we resampled those in July. I'm still on this page 3 here of the updated or amended report. So you'll also notice down towards the bottom that today's date. So we met with the Division of Drinking Water today, along with consulting engineers from N2W to discuss the preliminary design and answer any questions and comments that the Division of Drinking Water has so far. The conversation went well, and we're looking forward to a successful project and hopeful smooth permitting process by getting the Division of Drinking Water's input early and often during this design phase of this project. So also, we have since received the results for the Bernina treated blended water that is representative of the water that is delivered to the community for consumptive purposes. Those results have also been posted to the website. They're also included on page 4 of the updated packet. So 6.3 parts per trillion. PFOA was the result that stood out from that set that we took, which is less than previous samples taken, and it shows the effectiveness of blending the lake water with the groundwater and purchased water at Bernina Water Treatment Plant. So we've also received quarterly results from the samples taken for wells 1, 2, 6, and 8 that I just previously mentioned. These results have been posted to the website, and they're also found on pages 5 and 6 of this amended packet. Those results are very similar to previous results for the wells that we've taken. Well 8 showed very low concentrations of PFOA and PFHXS at 2.1 parts per trillion. They were previously below detection limits. And well 6 showed non-detect in August, whereas in May we had very few low detections around 2 parts per trillion. So what we're seeing is the labs are getting capability of reading down at lower levels. So what might have been a previous non-detect when they were reading down to 4 parts per trillion, now showing up at 2.1 parts per trillion as being detectable. So we've also received results from the quarterly samples taken from the Bernina Raw, which are representative of North Bay. And we also took a voluntary PFAS sample in the small sewage spill from the ALA bathroom in Burnt Mill Bay. And those results are also available, can be found on the website and page 8 of this updated packet. The result from North Bay fell right in line with what we've been seeing, 13 parts per trillion for PFOA. And the result from Burnt Mill Bay, right after the sewage spill, was 10 parts per trillion for PFOA. So again, those numbers are right in line with what we've been seeing with all of our previous raw samples taken out of the lake, that range from 16, 15, 13, 13. So I got another 13 here, and then this 10, that was the first time we've taken a PFAS sample from Burnt Mill Bay. And the last bullet point I have here is we took another voluntary sample at the Grass Valley Wastewater Treatment Plant influent to see if there's any noticeable change in the PFAS concentrations within the wastewater. And that sample was also taken on the 22nd of August, same day we took the resamples in Emerald Bay to confirm or find out if there's anything else going on with that 19 parts per trillion. And those results are not available, but when they become available, we'll get them to you gentlemen, get them on the website and talk about them next month.
Any questions for Matt? No. Any questions from the public? It's here. Online?
Mr. Ben online has a question.
Ben,
Hello, can you hear me?
yes, we can. Go ahead.
Yes, I have a question from Matt, and if you can answer it for me, please. This water that we get from these wells are directly injected into the main water mains in the system, right? Is that true? They're not going to Bernina plant and getting remixed with the Bernina plant.
No, so that is not true. They don't get injected directly into the system. They actually go through our groundwater ion exchange treatment plant that's over by the driving range. And that's where they first get treated to remove naturally occurring uranium and gross alpha. And then we add chlorine there. And then it actually used to go into the system there. But about 14, 15 years ago, we put a blend line in because we had hardness complaints within the immediate area. And so we now directed up to Bernina Water Treatment Plant where it does blend with the finished water and it gets rechlorinated there. So there's like an additional barrier of protection for health and safety. And from Bernina Treatment Plant, at Bernina Treatment Plant, we blend the finished lake water, the groundwater that you're asking about, and also purchase CLAWA water. We have 2 CLAWA connections, but the one on that side at Brentwood and Oakmont goes through Bernina, and we blend all the water in the finished water tanks, and it gets rechlorinated, and then it gets distributed to the community from there.
Yes, sir. I have one more question. In the
Okay.
first quarter, you guys reported that you had the PFAS was in the drinking water that's being blended at Bernina plant is 9.99 parts, whatever. It's just below the 10. But what confuses me, at Bernina plant, you didn't purchase any water from CLAWA to mix with that water that you're getting from the lake. And how could you possibly come with that when the lake is at 13 parts or 16 parts, or you say 19 parts this time you tested, could have come down to 9.999, just below 10, without purchasing any water from CLAWA?
We are actually purchasing water from
You
CLAWA
are
right now.
purchasing water right now, but at the first quarter where you reported that was 10, you did not purchase any CLAWA water. What I was reading from your reports from the first quarter. And that's where you had the reported that you had less than 10 parts per trillion, whatever you had. But when your source of water is at so high level, it just mathematically does not make sense that you would mix so much of the water and you come up with the results, because you have zero filtering to remove the PFAS from the water. So that means that wouldn't mathematically be impossible. I don't know what happened at your testing facility, or how did you make a sample test to come up with that result? I'm not questioning anything. I just want to make sure that you guys are on the same foot, and you're getting me these results that you're testing this water. But we want to know, how do you come up? Because if your source water is at 19 parts or something, you would have to mix enough water with that water to compensate. You bring it down below 10. Now you claim you're at 6, which is good. I congratulate you, but I hope you have a pretty good accountability when it comes to that part of it, please. Thank you.
Okay, I will mention that when we are not purchasing CLAWA water, we are blending the groundwater, like I mentioned, which has very low levels. Some of the wells are all non-detect for PFAS, so we are constantly blending it with the groundwater, whether we are purchasing any water at all. So.
All right,
We have Mr. Vartanian.
Garen?
Yeah, just the question about that spill that occurred at the ALA. This is just a head scratcher. I'm trying to get an answer. The water board, without me asking, sent me results. When the spill occurred, you guys did testing on August 4th through August 8th. Every day you guys tested for fecal strep, fecal coli, and T. coli. The testing was done at different sites. So it was done at the POE, which is the point where the spill occurred. And then testing was done downstream of the spill. And then testing was done in the lake at 2 different docks. And then testing was also done upstream of where the spill occurred. So when I looked at the results and I looked at the point of entry where the spill occurred, the fecal strep level was lower than the fecal strep level upstream of where the spill occurred. So I sent an email, to the board. I said, why is there more fecal strep upstream of where the spill occurred? And then I guess they asked you guys, and you guys said there's a pond with some ducks And that might be the reason why the fecal strep is higher upstream. Is there a giant pond up there with a whole bunch of ducks, and is it possible that there's another source of sewer that may be the reason why the fecal strep is higher upstream of this spill? Because that's what the report shows that I looked at. Well, if somebody can
So-
answer that, I would appreciate it. Thank you.
So there is a siltation basin upstream, and that's where the sample was taken, and the water was barely flowing out of it, and there were ducks and wildlife noted photos taken of that impoundment, so that's where the sample was taken. As far as surface water samples, we do take surface water samples routinely, monthly, and it is not uncommon for us to see fecal strep or coliform form numbers that high upstream or in any of these surface waters, so those numbers did not jump out to us as anything out of the ordinary, especially after further investigation and realizing where those samples were taken. And we have spoken with the Regional Water Quality Control Board about this, given them an explanation in writing, had multiple conversations, and so they know what we know, and there's nothing here we're hiding. And so yeah, the upstream sample falls right in line with some other surface water samples we've taken in the area. The bathing bay itself was below the action levels 2 days in a row. We handed those results over to the ALA. The ALA answers to the San Bernardino County Health Department for whether they close that swim area or not. LACSD, in this situation, we provide a service of taking samples for them and handing over the results. We do not make calls on whether they close the bathing bay or the swim area. That's out of our jurisdiction. So we take the samples, provide the results, and we do provide guidance if they ask, what does this mean? And of course, we will answer any questions and reach out to the regulators, which we did. And so that's what I know about the spill. Is there anything else we should add, Nate?
No, I think that pretty much sums it up, yeah.
All right. Thank you, Matt.
Mhm.
Anybody else?
There's that.
Well, thank you for your report. General Manager's report.
I don't have anything additional to add to the report unless you have any questions.
Any questions from the board?
There's status on the upcoming election.
Yes, so we only had one candidate file for each district. And it's our two incumbents, are the only two who filed papers for candidacy.
All right. Thank you.
And anybody, any other questions from the board? How many people or customers have asked for rebates?
I think John was.
Yeah, so that, yeah, so as of the time that I put my report together, we had 57 rebates provided.
Okay, well, good. Any members of the public have a question? No? Online?
None.
None? Okay, very good.
Just a statement real quick.
Okay,
I need to be clear. Anyway,
Sure.
as a plumbing contractor, I've
and this is Mr. Rick Miller.
Rick Miller, RV Plumbing Company. This is something that I've had to look into, just kind of a quick learning curve on this, on PFAS and water filters, but I've had customers coming to me wanting a filter put in. And I didn't always know the answers, and so it took some study for me and some wrong answers to find what was probably the appropriate filter system, and it's not easy and it's not cheap. So I applaud you all for looking into it, trying to come up with a good answer, because it's not an easy one.
Thank you, Rick.
We have a comment online.
Sure, go ahead.
Ms. Halsted? Go ahead. Ms. Halsted? Unmute yourself, please. I can't unmute her.
Okay. Well, Ms. Halsted, we're gonna move on, but if we can figure that out later on, we'll give you an opportunity, okay? And then you can always,
She needs to unmute her.
I understand that, yeah, but You can always send in a written question or ask even next meeting. We'll try to answer that, okay? All right. Next, we have action items. Number 12. That would be Scott.
Thank you, President Wurm, members of the board. This is an action item to consider awarding a contract with GM Excavating Incorporated for the Grass Valley wastewater treatment plant supervisory control and data acquisition, also known as SCADA. And it's SCADA Room Project 228. And this is a project that comes to us from our wastewater operation team out at the Grass Valley Treatment Plant. A little background on this. Our current Grass Valley wastewater treatment plant SCADA monitoring equipment is located in a hallway. Plant operators have inadequate workspaces, and the problem is compounded during storm events when operators must stay at the plant overnight. The proposed room addition will provide a 13-foot 4-inch by 14-foot 10-inch dedicated space for SCADA monitoring, giving operators proper workspace to effectively monitor and react to any potential problems at the plant. The fiscal impact on this, the cost associated with the approval of this item is $303,631 plus 15% contingencies of $45,445 for a total of $349,176. The total project budget is $250,000 and is included in the fiscal 24-25 budget. The total project cost is estimated at $370,000, which includes $303,631 for construction and $66,370 for engineering and inspection and other related costs. Funds will be provided by the wastewater capital improvement plan 210. And back in August 1st, we went out to bid. We had a job lot where we had 3 local contractors show up. And we only received 1 bid from GM Excavating for $303,631. And it was pretty higher than what we had cost estimate for. And it's staff recommendation that the board of directors award a contract for the construction of the Grass Valley wastewater treatment plant supervisory control and data acquisition room, project number 288 to GM Excavating for their low and responsive bid of $303,631 and authorize the general manager to execute the contract and authorize the general manager to approve change orders for the project as required in the field during contract time or amount not to exceed 15% of the original contract amount. That's our recommendation.
Questions for the board?
Why, Scott, is the engineer's cost estimate so much lower than this?
The engineer's cost estimate came from our consultant engineer, TKE Engineering. And I don't think they do a lot of this type of work.
Okay.
And they went with what they had at that time, which it doesn't reflect what's going on today.
Okay, so you're comfortable that this bid is?
Yeah,
I mean, because we don't have anything to compare it to, right?
right.
Also, the, at the time they created this engineer's estimate, we didn't have the structural plans. And the structural plans are a little beefier than I think they were expecting.
Who were the other contractors that were out to do the walk?
We had Trinity and we had,
Joe, I don't remember.
Joe Queen Construction.
Okay.
And I think Joe Queen was really interested in the project, but because this is a capital improvement project and it involves the Department of Industrial Relations and bigger things than what he's used to doing.
Yeah.
He decided not to bid on it.
Trinity say why they didn't bid?
No, I did not hear anything back from Trinity.
Okay, I'll move approval of the contract.
Yep, well, let's.
There's
Public comment.
There's no comment.
No comment.
Yes.
And I do have a question. How many square feet is gonna be added?
That's gonna be,
On my calculation, it's about 198 square feet.
yeah.
And how many people work in that 198 square feet?
Well, there will be multiple desks
Yeah.
with multiple computers. They could be up to 4 people working in there at one time.
Well, that's not that big a space for that many people.
Yeah.
Okay, it's still pretty tight. All right. Okay,
Motion?
You have a motion?
Second.
second, okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay, contract is awarded. That concludes our action items. Any board members want to go to?
One more, yeah.
Item 13.
Oh, I'm sorry. I skipped.
This is a quick one.
Okay, Scott.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is a procure action item to procure manhole inflow reduction. 2024 project number 257. This is to buy 180 manholes, procure these before we go out to bid for we're actually out to bid for our manhole raising project, which we do every summer. The cost of 180 manholes is $86,308. This project will have 179 manhole frames and covers located in the streets within Lake Arrowhead and Rim Forest. Several manholes have been paved over throughout the years and are causing problems for maintenance. Most of the manholes are located within the San Bernardino County right-of-way. In addition, several manholes are located at low points would have a potential for inflow and infiltration if not sealed properly. This project qualifies as I&I reduction, which will comply with our cease and desist order number R6V 2013-0022. So this is kind of we've been doing these for years. So it's just a procurement of the manholes, and we'll probably come to you next month with a contract to do the work.
Comments, questions from the board? Public comment?
There's none.
None? Okay, motion?
I'll move that we buy the manholes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay, let's buy those manholes. Where we putting them?
Covers.
Manhole covers, where are we putting them, Scott? In your
All
backyard?
all over the street.
All over. Okay, all right, very good. Now we have the opportunity for more meetings for board members. Anybody have a meeting they'd like to go to? Okay, anybody have a comment they'd like to make, board members? Okay, and it doesn't look like we've got anything more on the agenda, so we have a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
End of meeting. Thank you, everybody, for coming.